On Twitter, join this conversation. We'll be taking some...
It's not one of those regular talk shows. This particular UNDP Channel CV collaboration is to see how best developing economies can make the UNDP Sustainable Development Goals happen.
SDGs talk about leaving no one behind. So
Mr. Amarakun Bandra is a senior economic advisor to the UNDP. He spells out exactly why the UNDP is concerned about bridging the gap in the economies of developing nations.
One of the key criteria for UN to achieve the SDGs by 2030 is to focus on those furthest behind. So in that sense, the idea of having the natives involved in the whole process, whether it is the national level or even at the state or even at the village community level, we need to focus on those as well. Because, you know, the gap is because of those gaps within those communities, the people in the rural areas, people in the furthest areas. So in that sense, it is the critical thing that we need to focus.
Deputy Director, Macroeconomic Analysis for Ministry of Finance, Kenneth Kujeli, said the federal government is committed to promoting the SDGs along with its own development plans.
Government has a policy, and within that policy, there are rules, and it's expected that whenever anyone is able to provide the requirements that condition requires, government would allow such a person to benefit.
Another panelist and Vice Chair, Impact Investment Foundation, Mr. Innocent Chukuma, argues that the issues go beyond providing the enabling environment, but as he put it, unless practical steps are taken to achieve the listed goals, the country will continue to go round in circles.
As Chinua Achebe said in his famous novel, No Longer Artist, it doesn't matter how fast you go, so long as you're headed in the wrong direction, you're bound to come back to ground zero and start retracing your steps. What other incentives, what other deliberate steps have Nigeria taken to drive education, to drive healthcare, to drive affordable housing, and all these SDGs that we read about? You find out it's minimal.
Not minding the challenges, experts still believe the private sector is key in this partnership, but we must first retrace our steps.
Right. We need the private sector. So in Lagos, we embrace the private sector, and I think it shows. I think it's one of the reasons why Lagos has been able to progress dramatically, way beyond what even the government can do. And we continue to engage the private sector from a development perspective and from an investment perspective.
There is a need to really say, where is the government focused? Is it really listening to the youth who make up significant portion of the population, more than 60% of the population, as we've seen in recent months, given the protests? Do we really care about what's happening to our youth and what is going to happen to them over the course of the next 5 and 10 years? And then women, for me, I think is the other question. What is the government doing truly to support women? And that's both in terms of initiatives like Elector and others who are looking at getting women into public office, but then also this question about how are women being excluded across the range of different, SDG goals that we care about. So I think there's still a lot of work to be done.
To keep this going, there will be need for constant collaboration among the UNDP, the private sector, and the government. And this is already being practicalized with today's interaction on how best to make the Sustainable Development Goals work. Laddie Williams reporting for Channels Television.